The world of Formula One is officially in meltdown following Red Bull's stunning move to let her off the leash. But to be real, something has been brewing behind the scenes for some time now. And now, the next big play looms large on the horizon: Max to Mercedes. What was once a seemingly fanciful dream is now rapidly becoming a very credible possibility following recent bombshell revelations. And here's the big question: was Toto Wolff the puppeteer from the very start? Did he play the long game to perfection, watching and waiting and allowing the pieces to fall as he desired? If that's the case, who will Verstappen replace in the Brackley-based squad? The most sensational and seriously planet-shattering news currently in Formula One is the unceremonious departure of Christian Horner. That's a closed book. What currently exists is the actual story now, which is what is yet to come. And as far as Red Bull fans are concerned, the future does not seem too bright. Because Verstappen is now being implicated increasingly with a switch to Mercedes following her exit. A day prior to Red Bull's announcement, Ola Kalinius, the CEO of Mercedes, sanctioned going all out on securing Max into the garage of the Silver Arrows. Let us return to the last time we wrote about this epic. There was a verbal contract in place between Wolff and Verstappen. The only snag? Mercedes' board did not want to lose their homeboy George Russell or their next-generation phenom Kimi Antonelli. But the chance to sign Max Verstappen, perhaps once-in-a-decade talent at the height of his skills, is something you do not let slip away. And that's most likely why Kalinius had a change of heart. And let's not forget, this isn't just about the Horner scandal. A storm is brewing at Red Bull. The team's decline is becoming harder and harder to deny. The premature exits of Adrian Newey, Jonathan Wheatley, Courtney, and Rob Marshall have all played their part. And if you've seen what Marshall and Wheatley have done with McLaren and Sauber in just a short span, you'll realize just how vital they were to Red Bull's dominance over the past few years. When your team starts to fail you, the smartest move is to start exploring options outside the bubble. That's exactly what Lewis Hamilton did when Mercedes ignored his concerns about their car's direction. And when it became clear they weren't evolving, he took charge and made the bold move to Ferrari. According to the 7-time world champion himself, Max should follow suit. Max needs a new challenge. He's done everything he needed to do at Red Bull. It's time to move forward. Hamilton added that Max did nothing wrong, he simply did what champions do: win. Of course, I'd recommend Mercedes. A couple of years ago, I could have gags about Red Bull as a beverage company, but Mercedes? Proper team. Passionate people. Genius factory. Winning ethos. And let's be real, if it wasn't for Max, Red Bull would be fighting it out in the midfield. At best. Their development team Wash and below have never provided upgrades that give Max confidence. And that's another good reason he ought to consider transferring to a team which can build a car right. Need proof? Look at how Mercedes started this ground effect era, in arrears. Outdeveloped by nearly everyone. But slowly and steadily, they regained their footing. And with 2026 on the horizon, and a whole new engine era coming up, Mercedes could be poised to reign supreme again. So that can just fan the flame to a greater extent. Max's management team accepted that they knew her would be let go of his duties in Red Bull, but that never impacted them much because they are already looking for performance. Fascinatingly, they did not indicate that this performance would be inspected by Red Bull alone, which meant if they drive to Brackley, take a cup of tea with Wolff and Allison, and see that Mercedes are going in the right direction, then we'll see another tectonic shift in the grid. When addressing this situation, Verstappen's team said, "We were informed in advance about this decision by Red Bull management. It's up to Red Bull to expand on why they did this. We continue to focus on the sporting side and are looking for more performance so we can return to the top." In that sense, nothing changes. But then again, everything revolves around the latest departure of her. There is one scenario that's true, but only time will tell. Either Red Bull has decided that enough is enough and they need to be listening to Max, or they know that Max is out the window and now that they're going to reconstruct the team, they might as well do it properly. If it's the first one, then Max staying would have an immense effect on everyone in Red Bull in terms of confidence that the tide can be turned around. But the gap that her left is just too big. The man has been part of the team since day one, before Kimi Antonelli was even born. After 20 years, he'll obviously impact a lot of seniors at Red Bull who are willing to follow suit and join another team if the opportunity arises. Or, let me simplify it for you, a rebuild is very likely on its way. If that's the case, then Max doesn't have to look further away than Mercedes. The Silver Arrows will have a very difficult decision on their own because for the first time in a long period of time, they have two highly competitive drivers who could be world champions if given the right opportunity. 3 doesn't fit into 2 and they'd have to get rid of someone. But given the potential of Antelli, that would very likely be Russell. This is yet another controversial decision if it becomes a reality because Mercedes has groomed George since his youth days and put him in charge when Hamilton left the team. So if you're willing to ditch him, you're effectively making it worse for the entire academy that's below your command. But at the end of the day, this is Verstappen we're talking about. The bigger question is whether or not the engine advantage of Mercedes is going to be that big. So Verstappen would say yes, this should be my new home. According to her, it's not as easy as it sounds because 2026 is a big question mark for everyone. Yes, Mercedes on paper is the most dominant engine manufacturer along with Ferrari, but we know for a fact that the engine itself cannot be the only factor that would bring your car to 20 seconds ahead of the second-place challenger to the checkered flag. Elaborating further on this and warning Verstappen about a potential move to their fiercest rivals, her said, "It's the biggest rule change in Formula One, probably in the last 50 years, where both chassis and power unit are being introduced at the same time. No one in hand with heart is ever going to be absolutely sure what that picking order is going to be. It will be McLaren or Aston Martin, it might be Mercedes. It might be Ferrari. It could be anybody. There is a ghastly amount of subjectiveness to 2026, and it won't truly be this time next year before you will have a proper handle on what that picking order is. So everything does not look quite so rosy for Red Bull as they're entering a reconstruction phase which can be very painful and might tear bridges that cannot be repaired. A clear indication of that is the recruitment of Laurent Mekies, former team principal at Racing Bulls. If the team believes Max Verstappen will be moving on to Mercedes, then they would probably promote Hadjar to see what he can do to Yuki or even ditch Tsunoda for a shock move and give the seat to Lindblad. Either way, Max was going to Mercedes and Red Bull might have to ready themselves for a very difficult period without her. But following every storm comes sunshine. And even though it would seem to be an incredibly large setback for the team, things can be going in a very different direction to the surprise of many. But let's stay real here. All that drama could be just to cement the internal structure within Red Bull. Quotes from Jos Verstappen are still echoing in our ears. As long as Christian is going to be in charge, there is no chance things will remain as they were. So, if we can manage to see them out of the team, then maybe Verstappen will decide to invest his future at Red Bull and rebuild the team from scratch. What we saw here is that the driver was indeed greater than the team because Wheatley's, Newey's, and Corden's exits didn't affect Horner's domination at Red Bull, but the looming loss of Verstappen did. Bearing all this in mind, what do you think of the chances of Verstappen's joining Mercedes? And most of all, do you believe that Russell will be the driver to lose his seat because of this drama that he himself does not directly involve himself in? Let us hear your thoughts in the comments section below. And after you do that, don't forget to click on the video on your screen currently.